ቦታችንን እንውሰድ. Can we take our seats, please?
Good morning, everyone. You are welcome.
እንደምን አደራችሁ እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ.
So the event today is on the launching of the Decent Work Country Program for Ethiopia. Decent work for the ILO is always a buzzword in all the work that the ILO does. But of course, the work of the ILO is always done through the government. And like in any other country, here in Ethiopia, our collaboration is with the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs.
እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ ለምቹ ስራ ለሁሉም ፕሮግራም ምርቃት ያው ምቹ ስራ ለአይሎም እንዲሁም የአይሎ ስራ በመንግስት እንዲሁም በአሰሪና በሰራተኛ ነው የሚሰራው ለሁላችንም ምቹ ስራ ሁኔታ መፍጠር በኢትዮጵያ ላይ ትልቅ ኢምፖርታንት ነው.
So to start the program, let me first start by apologizing for starting late. But we promise that we are going to catch up on time because our program is very short and will be very participatory and would want to get your engagement in the process. So just to quickly go through the program, after my introduction of the program, we are going to have welcome remarks by the director of the ILO office, Mr. Alexio Msindo. And after that, we are going to proceed to have a keynote address by the representative from CETU, Mr. Kasum Follow, and another keynote address by the representative from the Confederation of Ethiopian Employers Federation, Mr. Getaon Hussein. And then we are going to have a very exciting moment where we are going to show you how Ethiopia is responding to addressing decent work deficits through a fashion show. And that will be followed by a quick presentation of the document that is being launched today, the Decent Work Country Program. And this will be done by Dr. Zeryun Kibede. And after that, we are then going to reach the climax of the day where we are going to have a message from our guest of honor and launch the Decent Work Country Program. So in brief, this would be the program that we are going to follow through this morning.
በመጀመሪያም በጣም ይቅርታ ትንሽ አርፍደን ጀምረናል ግን አጠር ያለ ፕሮግራም ስለሆነ አይ ሆፕ በሰዓታችን እንጨርሳለን ብለን እናስባለን. ሚስተር አሌክሲዮ ሙስንዶ የአይሎ ዳይሬክተር ንግግር ያደርጉልናል። እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ ንግግር። ከዛ ከሰራተኞች ማህበር አቶ ካሳሁን ፎሎ ንግግር ያደርጉልናል። ተከትሎም ኢንጂነር ጌታሁን ሁሴን ከአሰሪዎች ንግግር ያደርጉልንና የስራ ሁኔታ በኢትዮጵያ ላይ ምን ይመስላል እንዴት ነው ደግሞ በዚህ በምቹ ስራ ፕሮግራም ምን ቀርፈው ሚል በሾ ፕራክቲካሊ በሾ እናሳያቸዋለን። ከዛ ተከትሎ ደግሞ የዛሬ ክብር እንግዳችን ክብርት ዶክተር እርጎጌ ተስፋዬ ንግግር ያደርጉልናል። ከዛ ያው እስካሁን የምናወራውን ፕሮግራም ይፈረማል። ከዛ በፊት ዶክተር ዘሪሁን ከበደ ከሚኒስትሪ ኦፍ ሌበር ኤንድ ሶሻል አፌርስ ደግሞ ፕሬዘንቴሽን ያቀርቡልናል ምን ይመስላል ይሄ ፕሮግራም የሚለውን እሱን አድርገን ወደ ማጠናቀቂያው እንደርሳለን።
Okay, so the other exciting things that we are going to do before we conclude, and that I'll leave you to speculate, and just to ensure that you stay with us up to the end of this program. But also to mention that this event is also being covered live. We do have a number of colleagues who have actually joined us online. So as we go through the program, we also have an opportunity to just show who has actually joined in online. So this is both a face-to-face event, but also we have participants who have joined in virtually. So,
ብዙ ፕሮግራሞች ይኖሩናል። ያው አጠር ያለም ፕሮግራም ስለሆነ እስከ ምሳ ሰዓት ከኛ ጋር እንዲሁም ምሳ አብራችሁ እንድትበሉ እንጋብዛችኋለን። ቆይታችሁ ይሄ ኢቨንት እንደዚህ እናንተም እዚህ ካላችሁት በተጨማሪ ቨርቹዋሊ ኦንላይንም ላይቭ ስትሪም እያደረግን ነው። የተወሰኑ ሰዎች ቨርቹዋሊ ጆይን አድርገውናል።
Okay, so to start the program, let me also just introduce myself. Evans Luanga is my name, and my colleague
Ida Awol.
So we'll be facilitating this program this morning. So without wasting much time, Ida, please invite our first guest.
All right. The first speaker of the day, Mr. Alexio Musindo. Welcome. Please have the floor.
Okay. I do acknowledge some echo. Maybe need to switch off. I do acknowledge the presence of Your Excellency, the Minister of Labor and Social Affairs, Dr. Tesfaye, Your Excellency, the Commissioner, Jobs Commissioner, Mr. Nigusu, thank you for coming. The President of CETU, Atofolo, thank you. Engineer Getaon, representing the Employers Confederation, thank you for coming. In absence, and he had made commitment to join us, but an urgent meeting came up, was the UN Resident Coordinator, Dr. Catherine Sozi. She will be with us in spirit. I also take my UN colleagues who have joined us today, and also acknowledge the presence of UNESCO, people whom we have been discussing and seeing how we can all contribute to job creation. Development partners are with us here and also online, ILO and UN colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by congratulating the tripartite partners of Ethiopia under the leadership of Your Excellency, Dr. Tesfaye, for the development of the Decent Work Country Program. This is a milestone for Ethiopia. I also wish to thank the tripartite technical team that despite the COVID challenges in 2020 and this year, you have continued to meet and identify the key priorities in the world of work in Ethiopia. Also to acknowledge development partners in Ethiopia who are partnering with governments, employers, workers, and us in the ILO and the UN in promoting and advocating for decent work. Thank you. I do thank Sister UN colleagues present in this discussion, as well as your contribution in the process of drafting the Decent Work Country Program and ensuring its alignment with the UN cooperative framework. And thank each and every one of you from your various institutions. Your presence physically and online is a commitment to the decent work in Ethiopia. We are here today to formally sign off and launch the Decent Work Country Program, thus making a commitment between the tripartite partners and the ILO to collaborate in order to promote the advancement of decent work in the country. This is a major commitment. Decent work does play a central role in Ethiopia's aspiration as defined in the homegrown economic reform and the 10-year pathway to prosperity. Work defines who we are. When we meet for the first time, one of the traditional questions we ask each other is, what do you do? When we meet for the second time and the third time, it's all around how is work, how is the family. The aspiration for decent work is therefore shared by each and every one of us as individuals, with our families and the communities. As ILO, our primary goal is securing decent work for men and women across the world. We do believe that much of our common future depends on addressing the decent work challenge. But what is decent work? Can we achieve it? Can we measure it? Decent work, according to the ILO, sums the aspiration of people in their working lives for family stability and personal development, for fairness and gender equality. Decent work is about opportunities for people to organize and participate in decisions that affect their lives and equality of opportunity for all. Decent work reflects the concerns of government workers and employers who together provide the ILO tripartite identity. In ILO's action, decent work is captured in 4 strategic objectives: fundamental principles and rights at work and international labor standards. Second, employment and income opportunities. Third, social protection and social security. And fourth, social dialogue and tripartism. These objectives hold for all workers, women, men, formal, informal economy, wage employment, or work on own account, in the field, in the factories, offices, everywhere. Decent work applies. But why decent work? We have in Ethiopia, in Africa, across the world, millions of youth who are unemployed and they just need a job. Why then should we make it decent and not just offer any job? The focus of the SDGs is on sustainable development. And when we look at sustainable development, you'll find that the 4 pillars are interrelated. Getting a job is just one pillar of the decent work agenda. But what are your rights on the job? What's the social protection aspects on the job? And what's the voice aspects on the job? By that, we mean if you have a job that doesn't provide enough income for your family, that can leave you sick after a few years at work, that doesn't give you a voice, it's not for long-term sustainable development. Most of the time, we define job as just being about wages. Decent work goes beyond wages. But can we measure it? ILO looks at the qualitative and quantitative analysis for measuring decent work. And a few years ago in Ethiopia, we did carry out an assessment towards measuring progress towards decent work. We looked at 10 areas as indicators for decent work, namely employment opportunities, adequate earnings and productive work, decent working time, combining work, family and personal life, work that should be abolished, child labor, stability and security at work, equal opportunity and treatment in employment, safe work environment, social security, social dialogue, employers and workers representation. These are some of the indicators of decent work, which we have used as a basis in developing the Decent Work Country Program. Decent work goals move upwards with economic and social progress. While there's no ceiling for decent work, there is a floor that is set by fundamental principles and rights of work of the ILO. It is an aspiration. It's something that we continue to trigger for. How then do we deliver on these indicators on the decent work agenda? This is where decent work country programs come in and what we are launching today. What are decent work country programs? They are basically the main vehicle for ILO to deliver its support to the countries with 2 basic objectives. One, which is organizing the ILO knowledge and instruments on the world of work for the country. At the same time, promoting decent work as a key component of global, continental, and national development strategies. They do provide that framework. They are ILO's contribution to national development plans and programs poverty reduction strategies, as well as development assistance and frameworks. Decent work country programs aim to tackle major decent work deficits through programs that embrace each of the 4 strategic objectives. What has been the process to get to where we are today? The Decent Work Country program to be launched today is inspired by the SDGs, the ILO Centenary Declaration on the Future of Work, ILO Abidjan Declaration on Advancing Social Justice, Shaping the Future of Work in Africa, Agenda 2063 of the AU, and at national level, the Homegrown Economic Reform and the 10-year Pathway to Prosperity. At the national level, consultation for the Decent Work Country program were done in parallel to the development of the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. The Decent Work Country program is therefore ILO's contribution to the UN-wide strategies to support governments in implementing its plans. Tripartism and social dialogue were central to the process. For us in the ILO, we brought in 3 main issues in the development. First is around knowledge in terms of research, information, and that is needed for policy guidance, formulation, and design. Second, we brought in advocacy to make decent work a key objective of public and private policies from the international support to Ethiopia and at the national level. And third, we brought services in support that is provided to the constituents right on the ground to put policies and programs into action. What is the resourcing? Decent work country programs are financed by governments, by workers, by employers, and by international organizations. Each and every one of us has a role in terms of financing the Decent Work Country program. I take this opportunity to thank development partners who are with us in the room and also virtually for the support you have been providing in delivering the Decent Work agenda in Ethiopia. Ladies and gentlemen, decent work is also about one thing I normally take. It has a spiritual value, it has an emotional value, and it does put a smile on employers, it does put a smile on workers, it does put a smile on each and every one of us. So what we are launching today is a program that, if implemented, is going to put a smile on each and every one of us. So let me conclude. Behind our masks, let's just smile to the Decent Work agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexio. I hope you're all smiling. As a second speaker, we would like to request Ato Kasan Follow from the Confederation of Ethiopian Trade Union to have the floor, please.
Her Excellency Dr. Ergego Tesfaye, Minister for Labor and Social Affairs, His Excellency Alexo Musendo, Director of ILO for countries Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, Sudan, and South Sudan, and representative of UNESCO, I didn't get the name, Honorable Engineer Getaun Hussein, Vice President of the Confederation of Employers, His Excellency Atanugusu Telahun, Commissioner for Job Creation. Thank you very much for your coming and welcome to the tripartite forum. First of all, I would like to thank ILO for preparing and coordinating this ceremony. I am very pleased and honored to be here and deliver this keynote speech on behalf of Confederation of Ethiopian Trade Unions and that of myself. Also, I would like to thank the technical team, those who contributed a lot to develop this Decent Work Country program. Let me start my keynote speech from ILO definition about the decent work, but already mentioned by His Excellency Alexo Musendo. Decent work means opportunity for everyone to get work that is productive and delivers a fair income, security, and the freedom in the workplace, and the social protection for families, better prospects for personal development and the social integration. Therefore, to realize decent work principle, the ILO member countries developed decent work country program for the last almost more than 15 years. Similarly, our country has developed 3 decent work programs in the past. However, still, the fundamental rights of the workers not respected, particularly in many private sectors, including industrial parks, no adequate salary, no willingness to provide personal protective device, no freedom of association. As a result, low trade union density in the collective bargaining coverage. The evaluation of past decent work country program shows, you can get from the document, the country industrial relations system is weak and it does not facilitate exercise in the practice of social dialogue intensively, consistently, and continuously. I hope this fourth generation decent work can fill these gaps. The other challenge is the pandemic has caused the most significant disruption to workplaces in generation. Therefore, as the social partners, it is crucial to change this situation through social dialogue, since the fundamental principle and the rights at work is the core of decent work agenda and the concern to all. On the other hand, we appreciate the government effort to create jobs for young and women. However, having a job may not be enough to ensure even basic standard for living. Her Excellency invited guests to improve decent work conditions. It needs to create awareness to employers, workers, and also for the government officials, as a result to promote development-oriented policies that support productive activities, decent job creation, which all rights are respected at workplace. Entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation, and encourage the familiarization of informal economy and the growth micro, small, and the medium-sized enterprises, including through access to financial facilities. So we expect from this fourth generation decent work country program to achieve the objective of decent work, as a result to change the working conditions of workers. Finally, signing decent work is not an end. However, it needs tripartite effort to effective social dialogue to implement the decent work program. Once again, I would like to thank ILO and the technical team for preparing this decent country program. I thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ato Kasa.
Thank you. Those.
It's working. You can hear him, right?
Okay, good. So those were the words from the workers, and indeed, very high expectations from the fourth generation decent work country program. And for sure, what is key is the need to create a lot of awareness amongst the workers in the factories, in industry, the workers. So now, an important ingredient to transmitting that smile are the employers. So now, we are going to have a keynote address from our representative from the employers organization, the Confederation of Ethiopian Employers Federation, Otto Gataun. Your remarks. Federation.
Confederation.
Federation. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Excellency Dr. Ergoge Tesfaye, Minister of Labor and Social Affairs, Honorable Excellency Kasaun Follo, President of CETU, Honorable Excellency Alexi Musindo, ILO Director, Your Excellency Mr. Nugusu Talahun, Job Creation Commission Commissioner, dear invited guests, I'm very glad to be here in this very important launching program of the Ethiopian Decent World Country Program and deliver a keynote address on behalf of the Confederation of Ethiopian Employers Federation and myself. Honorable Minister, dear invited guests, the 10-year perspective plan outlined 5 key people-centered objectives. These are physical, human, and institutional capital for income generation and wealth accumulation, equitable access to education, health, and other services for improved utilization of potentials and asset creation, unconditional access to the basic necessities of life, food, shelter, clean water, basic health and education, economic, social, and political participation without discrimination, including ethnic, religious, demographic, gender, and overall affirmative system built on consensus. Likewise, the primary goal of decent work is to promote opportunities for women and men to obtain decent and productive work in conditions of freedom, equity, security, and human dignity. Its main aim are to promote right at work, encourage decent employment opportunities, enhance social protection, and strengthen social dialogue. Honorable Minister and invited guests, the major areas of concern of the Confederation are to safeguard the right and benefit of employers and create a peaceful industrial relation. In order to create conducive industrial relation and boost the economy of the country, the Confederation was engaged in the creating conducive situation to both the employer and workers, to raise production and productivity, promote the private sector to be the leading engine of the economy. Furthermore, the Confederation has contributed its effort to prevent the horrible effect of COVID-19 by assisting firms to continue their work and contribute financial and material aid for those who lost their jobs and have little income to survive. Invited guests, the major priority areas of the 2020 to 2025 Ethiopian Decent Work Country Program: 1. Promoting productive and decent employment for men and women to sustain socio-economic development and poverty reduction. 2. Promote, adopt, and improve the application of relevant international labor standards and national labor laws. 3. Strengthen and broaden social protection coverage. In this regard, I would like to assure you that the Confederation will work on these priorities areas separately and in cooperation with its stakeholders to achieve the goals indicated in the program. Finally, I would like to appreciate the ILO Regional Office and its staff for their ceaseless support, and also the consultant, the technical committee, and steering committee that exerted their effort to finalize the document. I thank you all. አመሰግናለሁ.
Thank you very much, Engineer Gitahun. As you rightly said, the private sector is the engine in the economy, and I'm glad to note your commitment in putting us smart in all our places as the employers. Thank you very much. Over to you, Evans.
Thank you. So now we have reached a point where we would want to share and show a bit more on how decent work deficits are addressed in the place of work. So at this point in time, we're now going to have our movie stars, actually, because we took time to invite people from all the regions of Ethiopia, those who are involved in the entertainment industry, to come and act in our fashion show. So for us, this is a big thing. So at this point in time, may I allow the people that we have to exhibit on the different decent work practices that we see in industry and how the Decent Work Country program actually aims at addressing the deficit. This is now the time for the fashion show.
We can start the World of Work show now. I think our audience is a bit shy.
So, as you all know, today in Ethiopia we have got a lot of textile factories that are operating. And the garment and textile industry are among the priorities of the Ethiopia's development framework in the move of lifting Ethiopia to a middle-income country by 2025. As you can see on our runway, employment in the textile and apparel industry is estimated at 794,000 plus workers by 2018, and the forecast is expected to actually grow. Now, what are the decent work issues, and how is this Decent Work Country program responding to that?
Okay, so the Decent Work Country program we're launching today will continue to work with national, regional, and factory levels to make Ethiopia an African hub of socially responsible production of garment for both the global and domestic market, focusing on improving respect of workers' rights. What you see here is a garment and textile worker, so to respect their rights, leading to greater incomes and compensation, enhanced safety, promotion of gender equality and non-discrimination, and improved protection of women through assessment, advisory, and training. Lift industrial productivity and competitiveness is also key to enable a global competitive textile and garment sector, support the minimum wage, dialogue, and also ensure cooperation in terms of ensuring occupational health and safety. Thank you very much.
So that is the textile and garment sector. Now, we do have the construction sector in Ethiopia, which actually employs a lot of people. A lot of workers currently employed in the construction sector also need decent work. So the construction sector plays an important role in the economy. It creates value by transforming source materials into capital assets that are essential for economic activity and the delivery of infrastructure services, and consequently has a high impact on poverty reduction and income generation. As you can see, a well-dressed-up construction worker. But we also know that the industry faces a number of occupational safety and health challenges. The leading safety hazards in construction sites include falls, electrocutions, being struck and caught between objects, ergonomic-related challenges, and also exits such as pain and injury from physical overwork and overexertion.
And to overcome these challenges, through the Decent Work Country Program, we intend to overcome the challenges of occupational safety and health in the construction sector, rooted in the concept that injuries, accidents, and diseases at the workplace are preventable, and that consequently the primary objective of public and private action is to ensure that adequate preventive mechanisms are in place. To this end, we will be working at the workplace, designing interventions at enterprise, sectoral, and national level to establish effective occupational health and safety management system. The revision of the National OSH Directive and the establishment of OSH institution is among some of the activity we will be undertaking through the Decent Work Country Program that we will be launching today.
Chemical safety is another area that is of concern in addressing decent work deficits. In the workplace, exposure to chemical hazards is a type of occupational hazard which exists. And in every workplace, workers are in one way or another, directly or indirectly, exposed to chemicals. Some chemicals are hazardous and some are non-hazardous. Hazardous or toxic chemicals are used in many industry environments on a daily basis. Although chemicals make the world go round, especially in production, some can be more harmful than others. This is the reason why chemical safety is important.
All right, through the Decent Work Country Program, again, we need to promote to achieve chemical safety to make sure our workers are safe by undertaking all activities involving chemicals in such a way as to ensure the safety of human health and environment. Chemical safety can be achieved by reducing the number of people exposed to hazardous chemicals, reducing the duration and frequency of exposure to hazardous chemicals, and reducing the quantity of hazardous chemical kept on site through inventory reduction methods such as just-in-time supply.
We need to give a hand to the chemical safety. Another area where safety is needed, decent work needs to be promoted, is in the agricultural sector, agro-processing. Farmers are enterprising individuals whose livelihoods and source of income predominantly generate from cultivating crops and rearing livestock. In Ethiopia, farmers are living in rural areas, working on their farms and producing diverse commodities to feed their families and supply to markets and feed non-farming communities. They remain the backbone of Ethiopia's economy and source of forex from exports. Around 80 to 85% Ethiopians are engaged in agriculture production.
Again, this farmers contribute significantly to our well-being. So we aim is based on two principles. One, it will both push people into the labor market by providing them with the skills needed to access employment or start their businesses, and pull them by supporting enterprises and value chain development so that the private sector can grow and provide more and better jobs.
Persons with disabilities. To ensure that we have decent work, it has to be inclusive. So persons with disabilities are among the most discriminated in society. In the world of work, they face discrimination in recruitment, job retention, and promotion. There are over 18 million persons with disabilities in Ethiopia. 17.6 according to the World Health Organization and World Bank estimations. About 95% of them live in poverty. Persons with disabilities who access formal employment are very low, and there exists no statistics.
Thank you. As Evan said, with 18 million people, it's important that we address their vulnerability. Again, through the Disability Country Program, we plan to contribute to disability inclusion and employment by working closely with the Disabled Persons Organization. And through the Disability Country Program, we promote the rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities in employment through support on awareness raising, promoting accessibility and inclusion strategies. Following Ethiopia's adoption of ILO Convention 159 and UNCRPD and Proclamation 568, 2008, access to employment for persons with disability is on the rise, and we will continue to work on through the Disability Country Program.
Skills is very important. The number of TVET centers that have massively expanded in Ethiopia from 15 TVET centers in 1994, it has reached 582 in 2017. Enrollment in TVET education system has also substantially increased in the past decade from availability of adequate machines and equipment in TVET centers, which impedes in graduates acquiring little practical education and limited access to internship and apprenticeship opportunities. TVET training is also more supply-driven rather than demand-driven. Not adequate consideration is taken in regards to what the current economy and market demands.
Thanks, Evans, for the challenges, but we plan to overcome these challenges again through the Disability Country Program. We intend to build the capacity of teachers and TVET centers through trainings and material support. This will address the challenge raised by Evans that teachers themselves often face in regards to practical and technical skills that they are expected to teach to their students. Moreover, we'll explore the ways to strengthen and scale up teacher training initiative to improve the practical skills of teachers, but also gender-sensitive teaching, attract female teachers to the TVET sector, and leadership development of female leaders in TVET institutions. Finally, yet importantly, we'll also support TVET to see how best their training respond to the labor market demand and the economy at large.
One of the most contributing factor to employment, especially in the informal sector, is migrant domestic workers. According to ILO's estimates, there are 67.1 million domestic workers in the world, of which 11.5 million are migrant domestic workers, out of which nearly 1 in 5 domestic workers is male. Migrant domestic workers. Migrant domestic workers provide indispensable service to the countries where they go, contributing to the wealth of aging societies and to the sustainability of this country's welfare and employment systems. Yet, they are usually confronted with many challenges linked to precarious recruitment processes, including passport and contract substitution, as well as changing of excessive fees or charging of excessive fees. The absence of adequate assistance to protect the domestic workers is something that needs to be addressed.
Into the labor market. I'm sorry, we have to change the mic 100 times. Don't they have a decent battery?
And finally, refugees. Ethiopia is the third largest refugee hosting country in Africa, home to approximately 805,164 refugees and asylum seekers as of May 2021. To promote integration at large, the Ethiopian government has worked towards new policies by rolling out the comprehensive Refugee Response framework, which includes an expansion of the out-of-camp policy and has adopted a progressive refugee proclamation in January 2019. The historic new refugee law grants a new set of socio-economic rights to refugees, from obtaining work permits, access primary education, obtain driver's licenses, legally register life events as birth and marriages, and open to access to national financial services such as banking.
The Ethiopian government has been leading in hosting refugees and opening up their doors. We would have to continue creating a decent working environment for them as well. Through the Decent Work Country program, we will support the inclusion of refugees into the labor market with a view to create fairer and more cohesive society. One of the main mechanisms will be through labor-based public works, which can be used as a lever for socioeconomic inclusion, with a specific targeting of low-income communities through income-generating activities and the promotion of local and regional value chains.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call addressing decent work deficits through the promotion of Decent Work Country program. And for the fourth generation Decent Work Country program, this is just a snapshot of what the document aims at addressing. Thank you very much. Let's give a hand of applause to all our fashion show catwalk participants.
Thank you. Now you've seen the practical aspect of the decent work deficit and how we plan to overcome the decent work challenges in the country. Now we'll move on to the presentation. Dr. Zarihun from the ministry will be presenting the Decent Work Country program. You can remain there. Or do you want to move? So that you can see the presentation, we'll request Your Excellency Dr. Ergoge and the tripartite partners to come down.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of this event. Just now I'm going to present the overview of this Decent Work Country program for the generation, which is going to take place from 2021-2025. So I may have a short introductory points and lessons learned from the previous Decent Work Country program, by Decent Work Country program, and the thematic priorities of Decent Work Country program for Ethiopia, and implementation of the program. So the idea to present this remark is simply to give you the overview of the fourth Decent Work Country program. The other matter here we have to consider is to share the cross-cutting nature of the decent work, and also to aware all concerned bodies to incorporate the decent work agenda in their respective sectoral plans. So as it has been explained during the opening remark, decent work is summarized as following. It is a central decent work, and it has got 4 areas, that is social protection, social dialogue, full employment, and respect for the rights of the worker. So everything is coined under decent work. It means even the human rights, political issues, socio-economic development, all these are coined as the decent work. When we consider the full employment, everybody is, the working age is looking for the better job, better income, job opportunity. And not only that one, working age, looking for the respect at workplace. Their rights should be respected. They must have their right, freedom of expression and exchanging of information, participation of the activities at the workplace. Not only that, about the social protection. Social protection could be contributory or non-contributory. This under social protection, everyone working in the workplace should have safety, like occupational safety and health, should have respect of the rights, should have insurance, like social security, peacefully led by the social dialogue. At the workplace, social dialogue is a critical one between the workers and employers. There must be a certain kind of exchange of information. That exchange of information can bring a peaceful coexistence of both workers and employers. Investors can invest their resources. They can build infrastructure. They can build the working place. They can procure equipment, machines, and so on. These are all inactive in the absence of workers. So workers are the most important component of the workplace, who can activate, who can produce the fruitful things and productions and services at the workplace. Therefore, employers and workers should understand that one and should work together by exchanging information, by making consultation, and making an agreement to make their workplace and their production and services are fruitful. So these are, if you consider all of them, these are under the core decent work. Decent work agenda, these are 4 inseparable, interrelated, mutually supportive strategic objectives. One is employment creation and enterprise development. Social protection, you can see. This is the employment creation. We are working on the workplace. Social protection, as you have seen in the show, about the safety standards and rights at the workplace, and governance and social dialogue. As a matter of fact, social dialogue could be either bipartite at the workplace, between employers and workers, and the other one is tripartite, including the government. Since the government is, of course, a policy maker, that policy launched, that policy drafted by the government should be understood, should be agreed, should be accepted by both employers and workers for the fruitful implementation. Therefore, tripartite social dialogue, including the government, is one of the critical parts of the social dialogue. So some indicators in the decent work are productive work, fair income, safety at work, such as occupational safety and health. This occupational safety and health could be very important in terms of health from the workplace. Workers can face the disease, work-related disease, and some other problems. That could be physical, that could be chemical, that could be social, biological, chemical, and so on, as it has been presented in the presentation. So social protection issue, social integration issue, human dignity, freedom to organize, participation in the decision making, and equal opportunity and treatment. All these are supposed to be observed in the decent work. So dimension of the social protection, as we can see, the 3-dimensional, the X, Y, Z axis. In the Y axis, I know everybody knows about the the mathematics here. The Y axis is the prevention and protection component, and the X axis is promotion of potentials and opportunities, and the other Z axis is access to essential goods and services. This axis, access to essential goods and services, are including the access to the education, access to the health, access to the water, sanitation, and so on. These are the essential components. The other one is prevention and protection. Proactively, we have to prevent the hazards, the risks, the problems. Yeah? And if even it happens, along with prevention, you may face, or the workers or the community may face a problem. So in that case, we have to protect. We have to give assistance. So the protection and prevention component. The other one is promotion of the potentials and opportunities. So the communities, they do have their own potentials. That potentials must be exploited, and we have to give them the opportunities. So that opportunities to use their potential can create a conducive environment, conducive situation in the communities. So social protection dimension can be indicated not in the form of the plane, in the form of area, but it is in the form of the volume. Yeah? Just as we are sitting here in the room on the plane, but the outside is just the ceiling is empty. But it is in the social protection case, it is not like that. We have to fill it out. Of course, I'm not denying the presence of the earth. Yeah? So common types of social protection are labor market interventions, social insurance, social assistance, and social care services. Social dialogue is another important component, as we have already mentioned, as it has been already indicated in the speech. There is exchange of the information. At the bottom here, that exchange of the information at the workplace between employer and workers or workers' representatives create a conducive situation. That information exchanging is not important, is not alone, but that besides exchanging of information, that has to be consultation. And after consultation, they may have their own agreement. That agreement may not be simply in favor of the worker or the employers, but involvement, participation of the employers and participation of the workers in the workplace with the employer is critical and very important to create a conducive environment. The actors are, if they are employers and workers at workplace, that is bipartite, and by the involvement of the government, employers and workers could be a tripartite consultation. What is the importance of the social dialogue? Social dialogue is really critical one. If there is a social dialogue at workplace between employers and workers, then co-ownership by the workers can be created. The presence of that firm is not only important for the employer, but also it is important for the worker. So in that case, if it is genuine enough, if the relation is genuine enough, then the workers can have their attitude of co-ownership. That co-ownership increases the magnitude of the production, increases the quality of the services. If the production increases, then productivity, if the relation becomes conducive and the relation becomes harmonious between workers and employers, then productivity will increase. If there is a productivity, if there is ownership by the workers, then the products and the services could be quality-based, so that quality product, quality service can bring the market competitiveness. So if there is a market competitiveness, then there will be the profit. If that profit is shared by both employers and workers, because without workers, that profit, that product, that service cannot be achieved. Then if that is the case, if the profits are shared, then the income of the workers will be increasing, and income will be better income, and family protection, family safety for the workers will be better, and therefore, then increasingly that workers' attitude can bring more investment. Therefore, harmonious industrial relation, more production, more better service, then productivity. That productivity is that productivity can enhance, of course, profitability. That profitability can also enhance investment. Investment can enhance work opportunity for the workers. So this is finally the growth and the development of the country or the nation. So these are the implications of the harmonious industrial relation from the social dialogue. The next one is why these are the background to go to the formulation of to the design of the fourth Decent Work Country program. So after giving the background of the general Decent Work Country program issue or decent work in general, before going to design and formulate the the fourth Decent Work Country program, which is going to be launched today, what are the lessons learned from the previous one? From the previous Decent Work Country programs, this is the fourth one. And the first one started in 2006. So what we learned is establishment and strengthening of Decent Work Country National Steering and Technical Committee. So to oversee the overall process of the implementation of the Decent Work Country program, National Steering Committee is necessary. And that is to be, of course, supported by the Technical Committee. And the other thing which we learned is there is a weak framework for gender mainstreaming. So this, as we have understood, the decent work issue is cross-sectoral issue. It is almost all public institutions are expected to apply it. The cross-cutting policy drivers, like gender equality and non-discrimination, were not sufficiently mainstreamed in the Decent Work Country program, which has to be addressed by this fourth one. The progress and effectiveness of the Decent Work Country program requires effective coordination between partners, and our system is required. These are the lessons learned from the previous Decent Work Country programs. Therefore, by considering these deficits, the new Decent Work Country program is drafted. Why Decent Work Country program? As it has been mentioned previously, the Decent Work Country program is for promotion of the decent work as a key component of national development strategies. And also this is about the cooperation of the tripartite, government, workers and employers, and also ILO, as we know, it is a special UN agency for the labor issue. As a result, the knowledges, skills, informations obtained from this ILO will be also considered and cooperated with ILO offices and used for the advancement of the decent work agenda. What are the general principles and procedures to design decent work country program? The first one is focusing on the specific conditions and capacities of the country. So there is no one-size-fits-all. For each country, they have their own situation. They have their own context. That must be taken into account. The other one is analysis of the country characteristics and need. What are the needs of the country? What are the characteristics of the country? That has to be evaluated. Based on set priorities. So the countries are setting their own priorities. That priorities should be taken into account to align with this decent work country program. The promotion of the policy coherence to improve effectiveness and sustainability. Then about integration of the cross-cutting issues, such as gender equality and non-discrimination, human rights, governance, and climate change. Integration of the global and regional development strategies, like integration of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, from United Nations Sustainable Development, and AU Agenda 2063, and so on. These have to be taken into account to align with the country's decent work country program. So these are the general procedures and principles to design decent work country program. Okay, let us see how decent work country program is designed and also were designed before. The first one is logical framework, problem analysis through consultation with the tripartite. The consultation with employers, consultation with workers, consultation with the government bodies and other partners. Identifying national priorities. Then, after consultation, we have to identify what are the national priorities. Of course, nationally, the government has identified priorities, and in line with that, we have to check also the outcomes, outputs, linking to the National Economic Development Plan and Global and Regional Development Strategy. After having this one, drafting the Decent Work Country Program, the results frame alignment with the country framework. Then resource identification. Once we plan, once we design the decent work country program, it has to be, of course, the detailed plan should be prepared, and for that one, allocation of the resources is very important. So resource mobilization is another step. Then this happens for the implementation, then reporting and monitoring of the decent work country, and evaluation of the achievement, finally, adjustment of the implementation for the next time. In the Decent Work Country Program 2021-2025, the fourth Decent Work Country Program to be launched today has got 3 priorities. We identified 3 priorities. These priorities are, of course, aligned from the priorities of the national plan. One is the people, the other one is prosperity, the third one is industrial relations, social dialogue, and tripartism. What are the goals? To achieve what? To advance decent employment and promote social justice in Ethiopia. So finally, implementation of these people-related outcomes, output, and detailed plans, prosperity, industrial relations, social dialogue, and tripartism. The implementation around these 3 priority areas finally will bring the advancement of the employment and promotion of social justice in Ethiopia. As you can see, there is a theory of change. The goal is, as it has been indicated, is to advance decent employment and promote social justice in Ethiopia. So the priority one is people. For this one, all people in Ethiopia enjoy the rights and capabilities to realize their potential in equality and with dignity. That is an outcome of this priority 1, people. The priority 2, prosperity, that is, the outcome is all people in Ethiopia benefit from inclusive, resilient, and sustainable economy. The Decent Work Country Program priority 3 has got 2 outcomes, that is industrial relations, social dialogue, and tripartism. So therefore, the one outcome in this case is all tripartite partners in Ethiopia, meaning government, employer, and workers, and their constituents have increased engagement in industrial relations, social dialogue, and tripartism. The second outcome is all workers, employers, and their representative organizations in Ethiopia advance the enjoyment of fundamental principles and rights at work. So these outcomes come out from the number of outputs. For the outcome 1, there are about 4 outputs, which I'm not going to deal with those. And for outcome 2, there are 7 outputs. And for outcome 3, there are 2 outputs, and the other one has got 2 outputs also. May I have next slide, please? After theory of change, what it has been done is the analysis of the country situation is taken into account. That is the context of the country. What is the existing situation in Ethiopia? What are the gaps? And what will be done in the planning? Therefore, context, gap analysis, and planning. The first one, which we are going to see, is about employment, skills, and enterprise development. Under this one, the context is improving the employment generation and intensity of economic growth, weak policy coherence and implementation for productivity and employment opportunities. The other context, the existing context, is skills mismatch with labor market and weak linkage between industry and training institutions. Then the fourth one is inadequate labor market information system. So the gap observed is unemployed youth. The second one, young Ethiopians entering the labor force annually is increasing. The labor force is, from time to time, it is increasing. The employment landscape affected by the COVID-19 is considerable and significant. Multiple bottlenecks to generate productive employment and decent work for all is still one of the deficits. The plan to do is to fill this gap, to respond to these deficits, promote school to work transition. There is a school graduation, then they are going to join the workforce, and therefore the transition period, in the transition period, there are some things should be done. So, and the other one is promote core skills. Career guidance, inclusive skills development, and lifelong learning is very important. Support the 10-year national skills development plan of the country. So it is one of the important steps to support this 10-year national skills development plan. The assessment of the macroeconomic policies and the linkage with the job creation is another critical area to be addressed. Strengthen public employment and the labor market information system. So labor market information system is not well developed in Ethiopia. So we are really expected to address that one. The other context gap analysis is relevant ILO, International Labour Organization conventions ratified and implementation of the labor laws strengthened. So Ethiopia has already ratified 23 conventions. So labor law must be, or labor law as with evaluation, it can be revised. Technical and advisory support to government for the enforcement. Training to enterprises to comply with labor law and international labor standards. So these are the existing situations. The gaps are low levels of knowledge and compliance. There is still lack of the information, lack of the awareness. And how to comply with that labor standards is really still weak. Weak institutions and enforcement capacity. To enforce the capacity, the awareness, the capacity of the human resource should be built. So when we talk about the capacity, of course, it has to be, one is human resource capacity, the other one is institutional capacity, organizational capital, and the other one is technological capital, technological capacity. These has to be instituted, and these are the drawbacks that we can see in Ethiopian situation. Low organizational capacity of the tripartite partners, high levels of unemployment and poverty. So how can we plan? How can we address? How can we respond to these gaps? Mapping and prioritizing of ILO convention in Ethiopian context. So there are almost more than 180 conventions, ILO conventions, but we cannot ratify all conventions. We can ratify convention depending upon the need of the country, upon the context of the country. So that has to be evaluated, and the number of nationally important conventions should be ratified. Support the ratification with the context of national development. Strengthen labor administration and federal and regional levels. So there are the regional bureaus of the labor and social affairs and some other related institutions, and that labor administration issue should be strengthened at federal level as well as the regional level. Improved compliance and the country reporting systems is another planning area to be done in this 5 years. The third one is the social protection. The existing situation is Ethiopia has a national social protection policy, strategy, and social protection action plan. And also, Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs in developing social protection and monitoring tool must be supported, and it is supporting also. Supporting pension system reform. These are the existing situation, but as a gap we observe absence of a strong management information system, fragmentation and poor coordination among social protection actors, inadequate capacity in social protection program implementation. COVID-19 is also adversely affecting social protection spending and coverage at the moment. So the plan to be then is contribute to sustainable financing strategy for social protection, strengthening the social protection monitoring and coordination capacity of the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, systems strengthening for the management information system, linkage, and so on. The fourth one is social dialogue, industrial relations, occupational safety and health, and wage setting. What are the existing situations? Strengthening social dialogue and industrial relation structures, we have. Support of the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs in establishing of the minimum wage. Capacity building, this is already in the pipeline, in the process. Capacity building training to MoLSA and Bureau of Labor and Social Affairs, labor judges, etc., to improve working conditions. So the capacity building training should not be only for the MoLSA staff or MoLSA staff, it is also necessary for the labor judges to improve the working conditions. Labor inspection training and information management system for inspectors, improving the implementation of the Occupational Safety and Health Directive. We have already Occupational Safety and Health Directive. As need be, we can check and we can revise that one. So as, of course, as a gap observed is mismatch between growth and labor administration and the economy, because labor administration is growing, but the economy is not properly responding to that one. Low collective bargaining, union density, and bipartite social dialogue coverage. These are low. Collective bargaining is between employers and workers is not as such strong. Union density is not as such strong. Bipartite social dialogue at workplace is still weak. Lack of well-organized OSH data and its impact on productivity. There are the occupational safety and health data, but these are not really well consolidated. Lack of the trained personnel, absence of the occupational safety and health equipment, weak coordination and collaboration between the partners. These gaps should be, of course, addressed in this fourth Decent Work Country program. And the plan would be freedom of association and collective bargaining rights should be strengthened. And social dialogue and industrial relation institutions should be strengthened. Legal framework and implementation capacity for minimum wage setting established. Revision of the OSH directive and so on. The other one is leave no one behind. Under this one, gender equality and disability. So the context is unemployment rate increasing, and the gaps are women are disproportionately represented in low pay, low skilled and unprotected and precarious work. And women are disadvantaged in social protection systems. These are the gaps. And the plan could be in gender and persons with disability inequalities in access to employment and livelihood opportunities and improved, and social protection programs and systems strengthened to enhance access and coverage for women and persons with disability and migrant workers. The second one, in the leave no one behind, is the child labor issue, and there are the contexts for the child labor. And also there are the gaps in the case of the child labor, which we have to address, we are expected to address. And the plan one is the revision of the implementation of National Action Plan for elimination of worst forms of child labor, address child labor in the agricultural and garment value chains, and leave no one behind. The third one is about the migration issue. Then there are overseas employment proclamation, which has to be assessed and revised, and establishment of the migrant database, and which is in the process. And the gaps are, of course, as you can see, and also in the paper circulated on your hand, you can see them. And also there are the plans over here. Just for the sake of time, I am a bit running. So finally, the implementation. So there is a core here. Sorry. Okay, the core is a decent work country program, which is the center of gravity. From my chemistry lesson, it is the nucleus, which contains two fundamental particles, proton and neutron, and the others are circulating. These circulating are electrons. So electrons are the active particles which are playing about the chemical interaction. And for killing and healing, electron. The role is played by the electron. So therefore, for the Decent Work Country program, we are circulating here, National Steering Committee. So the activity of the National Steering Committee and the role of National Steering Committee is critical for achievement of the Decent Work program. And the National Technical Committee role and public institutions, development partners, and the national partners, their role is really very important for the achievement of the Decent Work Country program. Currently, these are our existing partners, which I am not go through it. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Well, we are all going to have this document. It is a working document. So once we have access to this document, our responsibility is to pick out areas that we can put into action, areas that we can respond to, areas that we can facilitate implementation.
በጣም እናመሰግናለን ዶክተር ዘሪሁን። አይ ቲንክ በዲቴል አቅርቦልናል ምን ይመስላል የሚለውን ዶክመንቱ ሼር ይደረጋል። አንዴ ፋይናላይዝ ሲሆን ኢሜል ለሁሉ ሰው ይደርሰዋል። ያው እሱን እያየን ከራሳችን ማንዴት ጋር ምን ይሄዳልና ምኑን እንተግብር የሚለውን የሁላችንም ስራ ይሆናል። ዴታ ለመፍጠር ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ አይ ቲንክ ሁላችንም ኃላፊነት አለብንና ኃላፊነታችንን እንወጣለን ብለን ተስፋ እናደርጋለን።
Now we have reached a point where we need to invite the ILO country office director, Mr. Alexio Msindo, to call upon our guest of honor. Mr. Alexio Msindo.
Thank you very much, our facilitators, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much. In now is the formal statements from Your Excellency, the Minister of Labor and Social, Your Excellency, to come and make your address. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Excellency, Mr. Tesfaye, representative of the Standing Committee for Social Affairs of the Ethiopian Parliament, Excellency, Mr. Nugusu Talahun, Commissioner of Job Creation Commission, Excellencies, high government officials in here, Mr. Alexio Msindo, Director of ILO Office for and AU, Mr. Kasahun Folo, President of Confederation of Ethiopian Trade Union, Excellency Engineer Getahun Hussein, Vice President of Confederation of Ethiopian Employers Federations, Ms. Yomiko, I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrongly, UNESCO Director to Ethiopia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the government of Ethiopia, and myself and my ministry, I would like to warmly welcome you all to the launching of Decent Work Country Program. The Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs is honored and happy to launch this 5 years program to be implemented from 2021 to 2025. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very much happy to report that the Decent Work Country Program is well embedded within the 10 years perspective plan of the government of Ethiopia, as well as the strategic plan of our employers and workers organization, and a key strategy ensuring quality growth and reducing unemployment, improve productivity and competitiveness, institutional transformation through creating a strong economy, build climate resilient green economy through promoting green jobs, ensuring equitable participation of women and youth, which this Decent Work Country Program will in one way or another contribute to. The Decent Work Country Program brings together all critical partners in the world of work, namely the government. Decent Work Country Program is the main vehicle to the delivery of ILO support to Ethiopia. The programs have two basic objectives. The first one is to promote decent work as a key component of national development strategies. And the second one, at the same time, it organizes ILO knowledge, instrument, advocacy, and cooperation at the service of tripartite constituents in a result-based framework to advance the decent work agenda in our country. The tripartism and the social dialogue are central to the planning and implementation of the Decent Work Country Program. Accordingly, Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs developed this program in collaboration with employers and workers organizations and with the technical and finance, ladies and gentlemen. The Decent Work Country Programs, which we are going to launch today, is the continuation of the other three previously implemented programs as it has been presented earlier, which started in 2006. The lesson learned from the past 3 years decent work country programs are used as an input to develop this. The tripartite partners will not stop here, but will continue throughout the implementation, reporting, monitoring, and evaluation of the program. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, decent work refers to opportunities for work that is productive and delivers a fair income, security in the workplace, and social protection for families, better perspectives for personal development and social integration, freedom for people to express their concerns, organize, participate the decisions that affect their lives, and quality of opportunities and treatment for all women and men at the same time. Decent work sums up the aspiration of people in their working lives. It is vital to reduce poverty and instrumental for achieving equitable, inclusive, and sustainable development in the country. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs is a cross-sectoral public institution mandated to shoulder the national labor and social protection issues. Labor and social affairs are interwoven and are dealing with different aspects of economic, social, and harmonious relationships between employers and workers, inevitably enhance the production, productivity, quality, and global market competitiveness, which in turn promote investment in job opportunities. These are facilitated by putting appropriate policies and strategies in place to reduce poverty and vulnerability with promotion of international labor standards and effective labor markets, minimizing people's exposure to risks and building the protection capacity against hazardous and loss of income, which are part of the social protection program. Therefore, ensuring industrial peace, maintaining employees' health and safety at workplace, improving productivity, working conditions and environment, and promoting efficient and equitable employment services are paramount important. Moreover, we will make sure that no one is left behind, as it is critical for development and prosperity of our country. Accordingly, we will be addressing the need of persons with disability through equal opportunities and full participation in the economy, ensure a gender transformative approach in the formulation and implementation of all labor and employment policies, programs, and institutions, and address the issue of child labor in the country, and improve labor migration governance to protect migrant workers and returnees as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the Decent Work Country Program is also a cross-sectoral and a multidimensional national program which aims to create decent employment opportunity and promote social justice for the citizens. Thus, this implementation and success requires the coordination of all stakeholders and partners, relevant federal and regional public institutions, non-governmental institutions, and etc., as well as the technical and financial support of the ILO and our development partners. It is clear that the bestowed upon us by the people of this great nation is huge. Hence, I take this opportunity to request all relevant stakeholders in here and following virtually to join Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs and the Ethiopian government, employers, workers, and the ILO in making decent work a reality in Ethiopia. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our development partners who have been by our side in supporting us in the implementation of the earlier generation of the programs. I hope this partnership will continue in the implementation of this Decent Work Country Program. For partners who have not worked with us in the past generation of the Decent Work Country Program, I hope you'll partner with us and see how we can collectively and collaboratively make this happen effectively in the country to achieve the aspiration of the Decent Work Country Program in Ethiopia. We are already in the process of establishment a structure for the implementation of this program that encompasses all the partners, including UN agencies and development partners. So this launch is only the beginning of our work together. we will have ample of opportunity to also closely work and follow up the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the Decent Work Country Program. In conclusion, allow me to take this opportunity to express my appreciation and sincere thanks to the ILO and its staff, especially Mr. Alexio Musindo, who took the lead for their technical and the financial support in developing this Decent Work Country Program for Ethiopia. Join me thanking them, please. I'm also grateful to the tripartite technical team and steering committee of the Decent Work Country Program for their commitment, for their contribution, cooperation, and precious input in the development of the Decent Work Country Program for Ethiopia. Please applaud them. My appreciation also goes to MoLSA staff and the leadership, especially Her Excellency, Ms. Ayelet Shete, for taking the lead and really working rigorously to make this effective to happen. So I thank Her Excellency and her team as well. I just would like to say finally, I congratulate the government of Ethiopia, the social partners, and the ILO on the successful launching of this very important program that makes a significant difference in the decent work agenda. Congratulations to all of us. Once again, thank you. Thank you very much. So I announce that the 5 years decent work program is finally launched successfully in a very colorful way. Thank you.
May we request that you remain at the high table?
All right. For the next session, there has been a lot of hard work, as Her Excellency Dr. Ergoge initiated in the development and the design of this Decent Work Country Program. So we invite Her Excellency Dr. Ergoge back to the stage, and Mr. Alexio Musindo back to the stage to recognize the work that has been done by the technical committee. Thank you. ያው ብዙ ስራ ተሰርቷል። ክብርት ዶክተር እርጎጌም ተናግሯለች፣ አሌክሲዮም በንግግሩ ላይ ተናግሮታል። ይሄ ዲዛይን ሲደረግ ብዙ ጊዜ ወስዷል፣ ብዙ ኮንሰልቴሽን ተደርጓል በትራፓርታይት ፓርትነር እንዲሁም በአይሎ ሰፖርት። አሁን እዚህ ቴክኒካል ኮሚቴ ውስጥ ሆነው ሲሰሩ የነበሩት ከ2018 ጀምሮ ኮንሰልቴሽኑ ከጀመረ ጀምሮ አብረውን ሆነው የሰሩት ሬኮግናይዝ ለማድረግ እና ትንሽዬ ስጦታ ለመስጠት ዶክተር እርጎጌንና ሚስተር አሌክሲዮ ሙሲንዶን እንጋብዛለን እና ሰዎቹን እንጠራለን። የሌሉትም ያው 2018 ነው ይሄ አክቲቪቲ የተጀመረው። የሌሉትንም ባይኖሩም ሬኮግናይዝ እናደርጋቸዋለን ለኮንትሪቢዩሽናቸው። We're going to recognize the contribution of the technical committee who has been working with the support of the ILO from the tripartite partners over the last couple of years in the design and development of this Decent Work Country Program that we're launching today. So to recognize their hard work and appreciation, we will give them a token of appreciation, goodies. We request Her Excellency Dr. Ergoge to give the gift for us. We will invite the people who was part of the technical committee. Some of them, of course, are not here with us. It's been a couple of years since we started design, but we will recognize them still. I will start with Ato Abebe Haile from the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs. I don't know who wants to get his gift and take it to Geneva. Somebody from MoLSA can take his gift. Doctor? Yeah, please. Please, Alexio. Do you want to join, Doctor? የአበበን ስጦታ የሚቀበል ከሞልሳ አንድ ሰው volunteer. Thank you. አጨብጭቡለታ። አቶ መስፍን ይልማ ከሚኒስትሪ ኦፍ ሌበር ኤንድ ሶሻል አፌርስ፣ አቶ ፍቃዱ ገብሩ ከሚኒስትሪ ኦፍ ሌበር ኤንድ ሶሻል አፌርስ፣ እሳቸውም አላየሁትም ፍቃዱ ግን አንድ ሰው on his behalf thank you መስፍን። አቶ ዘሪሁን ገዛኸኝ ከሚኒስትሪ ኦፍ ሌበር ኤንድ ሶሻል አፌርስ፣ አቶ ኢብራሂም ሰይፉ ከሚኒስትሪ ኦፍ ሌበር ኤንድ ሶሻል አፌርስ፣ አሰሪና ሰራተኛን አልረሳንም። አቶ ስዑድ መሐመድ ከኮንፌዴሬሽን ኦፍ ኢትዮጵያን ኤምፕሎየርስ ፌዴሬሽን፣ እሳቸው ስለሌሉ ሌላ ሰው ቢቀበልላቸው እናመሰግናለን። አቶ ደምስ ወንዳፍራሽ ከኮንፌዴሬሽን ኦፍ ኢትዮጵያን ትሬድ ዩኒየን እናመሰግናለን። ዶክተር አሌክሲዮ ቴንክ ዩ፣ ቦታችሁ መያዝ ትችላላችሁ። አቶ ግርማ ሲሳይን ሬኮግናይዝ እናደርጋቸዋለን፣ የሉም ከፖይሳ እና አቶ ደምሴ ዳንኤል ከፖይሳ ለስራቸውን ሬኮግናይዝ እናደርጋለን። እናመሰግናለን። ባይኖሩም እናጨብጭብላቸው።
Thank you. The Decent Work Country Program 4th generation has been launched. Now we need to have the signing ceremony.
We will invite the special guests to that table so that you can sit closer. I know it's COVID, but it will be easier to sign together. So let's move to the next table.
We have
your government. Like, please.
Also, just to let you know that our virtual participants are actively following the event. A lot of messages are coming in on Twitter and also on Facebook. So this event is actively being followed. We specifically have special masks which have been designed for this event, as you are seeing on the high table.
And all parts. I think I'm ready now. እባካችሁ የዲሰንት ወርክ ካንትሪ ፕሮግራም የመፈራረሚያ ሰነዱን ለክብር እንግዶቻችን አቅርቡልን። We're ready to sign the MOU now. We kindly request to present the MOU for signature.
a very important event that we are witnessing here. This marks the beginning of the implementation of the 4th generation Decent Work Country program for Ethiopia.
ይህ ትልቅ ፕሮግራም ነው። የመፈራረሚያ ፕሮግራማችን የመጀመሪያም ደግሞ የዲሰንት ወርክ ካንትሪ ፕሮግራም የአራተኛው ጀነሬሽን የመጀመሪያ ቀዳችን ነው። Congratulations, እንኳን ደስ ያላችሁ። Thank you to the ILO and the tripartite partners. Congratulations. አድርጉላችሁ። እናመሰግናለን። እዛ ባላችሁበት ተቆሙ። እዚህ ኦፖርቹኒቲ ላይ ክቡራቶ ንጉሱ ጆይን ታረጋቸው ክብርት ወይዘሮ አየለችም ትራፓርታይ ፓርትነርስ እና አይሎ ጆይን አርጋቸው አብራችሁ ኬካችንን ብትቆጥሩልንና እንኳን ደስ ያላችሁ ትልልን ደስ ይለናል። ጆይን አረጋቸው። We would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Nugusu from the Job Creation Commission, the Commissioner of Job Creation Commission, and Her Excellency Wezero Ayelech Shete, the State Minister of the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, for the cake cutting ceremony and to congratulate the tripartite partners in the ILO. Kekunun fotoğrafı. Sorry, below Yemen. We're bringing the knife for the cutting. I know, I think we forgot.
We have started by virtually cutting the cake before we physically do it. So for followers virtually, this is an opportunity that we have to also cut the cake to signify the launch of the 4th generation Decent Work Country program.
All right.
The cake is now being cut.
Congratulations again. Of course, tripartite partners and ILO ትቀመጡልናላችሁ የፕሬስ ብሪፊንግ ስላለ የተቀሩት እንግዶቻችን 6ኛ ፎቅ ለምሳ ዝግጅት አለ። እባካችሁ ጆይን አድርጉ። እናመሰግናለን።
Thank you very much for your participation. And we are all invited to lunch. And please, when going out, get your coupon from the exit door. We can all get our coupons for lunch.
የሚዲያ ሰዎች እዚሁ ተቀመጡ። ከሚዲያ ውጪ ወደ ምሳ መሄድ ትችላላችሁ። የሚዲያ ሰዎችና የክብር እንግዶቻችን ይቀመጣሉ። ሌሎቻችሁ ወደ ምሳ መሄድ ትችላላችሁ። We kindly request the media to stay behind.
So for everybody else, thank you very much for your participation. We really appreciate your time. And as we go back to our various offices, we should know that the Decent Work Country Program, 4th generation for Ethiopia, has been launched, and now it is time for action.
Thank you all for coming.